The following is a conversation between Matías De Stefano, referred to as me, and his higher self, referred to as I am. The date is July 19th, 2021, and the subject is the emotional aspect of the toroid in the sign of Cancer. The title of the blog is Unconscious. Me. Fear, shame, guilt, resentment, anger, frustration, desire, preconception, belief, confusion, lie, dependence, condition, loss, arrogance, egoism, victimism, incoherence, betrayal, depression, nostalgia. I am. Do you make the shopping list? Me. No. I try to remember everything that I have felt inside of me that I don't like to have inside. I am. Denial, escape, illusion, dependence, attachment, masochism, banality, and the list goes on. Me. How to catalog all this? I am. Like the force that drives you. Me. What do you mean? I am. Each of these words are not aspects that you should eliminate, they are simply the title of a story. And you are the book where all those stories are written. Each word is the title of a chapter. What would history be without knots, without conflicts or problems to solve? Me. A boring, tedious, and almost scientifically descriptive narrative. I am. It would stop being a moral tale, an inspiring story, to be a doctoral thesis. It is the knots that create the great stories, and it is the nodes of the network that, by creating tension, give meaning to the unit. Without all those titles, you would have no motivation in life. Me. Motivation in the hidden and dense. I am. The only reason that promotes evolution is conflict in a specific context. The only thing that drives you forward is wanting to leave something behind. Without the conflict, you do not understand where the error is. Without error, there is no solution. Without a solution, there is no growth, there is no development, there is no evolution. When you mention these words, you usually consider them weeds to be eradicated from the ground. However, they are precisely the weeds that drive you to grow taller, to find the light and discover the potential you had to expand. In the word fear hides a story of fear of something that happened, unexpected, that put my being in full swing, that gave me an experience. A grudge is the title of a frustrated relationship that keeps in itself many experiences of love and heartbreak. Confusion is the story of a search in which several options are discovered. If you go one by one, these emotions do not occur out of nowhere and for no reason, but are the result of a story that has built who you are and has brought you to where you are. Just like when you read a story, page after page, you see the problem escalate until the conflict is generated, and when you see it arrive, there is a force in you that drives you to continue reading. Me. Because one wants to know how it is resolved. I am. It is difficult to leave stories open in a human mind, so the brain tries to look for similar situations over and over again to remember that said conflict was not resolved, and uses the title of the unfinished chapter as the emotion that motivates to continue reading the following pages. Me. Oh, now I understand it well. It happens that, in general, we tend to want to get rid of these emotions that harm us. I am. That's why you hide them in the unconscious. You don't want to have anything to do with it. You prefer to keep it. It is logical to be afraid of what might happen, like someone who loves the characters in a story, and before the conflicting narrative begins to smell that the death of said character is approaching, and refuses to read how the chapter ends. Thus he closes the book, leaving an open, unfinished story. If you do that with every book in your subconscious library, there will be many unfinished stories left in your unconscious. Me, and that's why we repeat them over and over again. How is this? I am. The brain was designed to respond with reactions to stimuli in the environment. When a stimulus of pleasure is produced, it responds with joy. When a stimulus of pain is produced, it responds with suffering. For millions of years, the nervous system has been engaged in a complex record of reactions to every possible circumstance. Some naturalized to such an extent that they become part of an autonomous system, in which no thought or conscious order is required, such as the beating of the heart, the breathing, the functioning of the kidneys and intestines, as well as every organ in your body. Each part of your body was forged based on these conflicting reactions from the environment, which recorded the possible responses in its cellular memory. Thus, hormones developed as response activation mechanisms, as a communication between the organs and the central nervous system. These hormonal impulse responses are what you call emotion. Me. What is emotion? I am. It comes from the Latin ex motio, meaning from the movement, alluding to the fact that it is something that arises from a response that mobilizes us. For example, one day you were sad as a child, and your mother, to make you happy, she gave you chocolate. The sugars filled your blood, turning on the motor of the pancreas, secreting insulin. And it looked for the sugars to convert them into energy that the cell consumed. This raised the body's energy, producing an immediate reaction of activity, that is, the veins and arteries dilate, prompting the heart to speed up. To counteract a possible heart attack, the hypothalamus and pituitary gland in the brain secrete serotonin and endorphin, which calm the heart rate, giving a feeling of relaxation and pleasure. The sensation is equated then to a relaxing heat that is active at the same time, a hormonal mixture that generates the perfect cocktail to feel the emotion of love. During the years of your life, you will therefore identify chocolate with love, sweet with pleasure, but in turn, you will remember it as an immediate response to sadness. Your brain is in charge of managing this data in a place where you do not need to think this every time you see the chocolate. It will only be enough to feel it, and the whole system will activate itself. First the pancreas, asking to eat it, and then the hypothalamus telling you that that will make us feel good. That site, where the data is stored inside you, is called unconscious. Me. Okay, I understand. I am. That example is replicated for millions of things in each cell and end of the body, to which for each pulse there is an impulse, for each conflict there is a response, for each action there is a reaction. For millions of years and every day, the brain records possible responses relating them to the previous preconceived ones, with the aim of saving time and not having to think in case something similar happens. Going to the emotion, the body will already know how to respond without you thinking about it for a moment. This is the base that generates everything you call psychosomatic. Me. In other words, to feel in the body everything that is thought in the brain. I am. Psyche, meaning soul or mind, and Shoma, meaning body, are the Greek words that define in medicine and psychology the ability of the mind to manifest itself in matter. Me. That is why we resort to biodecoding to understand when something happens to our bodies. I am. All external or internal conflicts that take place in the body, be it an accident or an illness, are psychological response mechanisms, which are interpreted as brain reactions that indicate that there is something internal that is being mobilized. That is, that it is having an emotion of which I am not aware, and therefore I am unconscious. In general, people fail to understand the close relationship between the mind and the body, and treat them as if they were separate things, as if the disease had nothing to do with what one thinks. How can you believe that a perfect organism that functions in excellent homeostasis for millions of years forgot to take into account the relationship between what the neurons think with what the cells of the organs feel? Me. Yes, the truth is that it is absurd to think about it separately. I am. But that's how it was for centuries. Until today, in medicine, psychology and psychiatry are taken almost as pseudosciences, as if understanding the individual through his thinking could not define or help to understand his cellular reactions. The truth is that it's the larger percentage, 80% of what we are and what we do and what we act, is kept in the unconscious. Me. So we can understand that if we hit a finger, it has a meaning. If we catch a cold, it has another meaning. Everything is catalogued in emotions, in stories inside the body. I am. A conflict or physical illness is nothing more than the title of a story, of a chapter of your life. The body is the cover that shows the idea of the content that is hidden in the book. And the titles are the emotions that hide the stories that have given meaning to the narrative. In this way, you can understand that the brain, safeguarding all this data, when facing a circumstance similar to one of those stories, will launch a memory reaction that enhances the title of a chapter, as if to say, "Hey, feel this," so you will remember what the story is that you did not finish reading. Me. Wow. So every time we feel an emotion in a specific circumstance, it is simply the brain sending a signal to remind us through that emotion that this has already happened to us, and that in said chapter that we have denied is the narration how the story continues. That's why we have to go see the origin of emotions the first time we feel it. I am. And by doing so, it doesn't mean they will disappear from your life. It is normal to think that by resolving the issue of fear and knowing its origin, it would be ridiculous to feel fear again. And yet, we have it again. Me. I do! This frustrates me a lot, because after so much internal work, I feel the same way again. Why? I am. Because when you've finished reading a book, you don't burn it. You keep it on the corresponding shelf. Before the book was open and unfinished, collecting dust on the floor or a table of the subconscious, under many other books piled up and disorderly. When you deign to see the book and finish reading the story of said emotion, recognizing it, you will not tear out the pages, but you will look for which shelf it goes on. You will clean it, and you will put it in its corresponding place so as not to lose it and use it as experience. Thus, once you have identified the story, when you feel the emotion again, you will know where to find it and how to resolve it consciously. The emotion will not disappear, but it will be used correctly without going into the crisis of not finding the book. Me. Wow. I see it very clearly now. I understand, yes. I am. Therefore, the conflicts that you do not like to have inside, it is necessary that they remain there, because they have made you what you are. The problem is not in having them, but in not knowing that you have them. When you let them dominate your life without any logic. What a spiritual being usually seeks is to free himself from these emotions. And for this reason he continues to be lost in moral and dual struggles in his divine path, because he has emptied himself of books in his library, losing the content and the notion of who he is. You are not just light, you are everything that makes you up. Subconscious and unconscious form the majority of you. A human being can never be fully conscious, since the physical body is not programmed to tolerate such a capacity. But the conscious can benefit from the unconscious. Me. How would that be? I am. Going back to the simple human example of a journey, the conscious is the driver, the car is the unconscious, and the landscape through which it moves is the subconscious. The subconscious will not change. It will always be like that, and its modification will take years or millions of millennia. And the unconscious will have its limitations. Maybe it can't fly, it needs a specific fuel, maybe it can't go through certain terrains. But the conscious can decide to stop, go faster, slower, choose different paths, carry more or less baggage, as well as make repairs to the car. Me. Sure, so the unconscious is like a tool to move forward. I am. That's right. Me. We usually say that an unconscious being is someone negative, who does bad things. I am. An unconscious being is one who acts only by reaction, like an animal, based on very simple foundations such as hunger, sleep, desire. And their emotions are very specific: fear, frustration, resentment, hate, love. All your responses are given by impulse and not by conscious action, but by reaction. He does not know where what he feels comes from and considers his actions as logical to his feelings. The unconscious being uses all the strength of the hidden world within him to bring it to light, but it never brings light to his inner world. Me. Oh, I see. I am. The conscious being, before reacting, seeks to bring light to his internal world to understand the source of the fuel it will use to react. The unconscious keeps the same material that can move the world or make it explode. Humanity, seen as a single organism, will always have at least 80% that will live from the unconscious, and 20% that will live from consciousness. That's not a problem, it's nature. 80% generates the manifesting energy that the conscious is not capable of obtaining. But the conscious is capable of planning and guiding said raw material. Now, the big problem is when the great mass of unconscious energy is guided by the willpower of another unconscious. Me, as it happens today with leaders, politicians, idols. I am. That's right. In most cases, they are unconscious with impulses that guide unconscious with great chaotic emotional charge. Me. And how is it done so that it is not like that, but that a conscious person guides that force? I am. The conscious, precisely, cannot impel the other to do his will, but the conscious will only look for a way to make the unconscious free to manifest its own inner strength and not the will of others. For this reason, a conscious one must know fully what is hidden in his unconscious and know how to use these tools in his individual life, recognizing all his shortcomings to convert them into inner power. Only in this way, from the freedom of his own unconsciousness, is he able to expand the freedom of the unconscious mass. Do not waste time in wanting humanity to become conscious, but put all your will to free them from those who use their strength in favor of another unconscious will. Me. I understand. The tyranny of the unconscious that governs each one of us can come to dominate unconscious societies. I am. That's right. Therefore, you need to govern your own unconscious, to be able to face this great library and its nodal chapters, to bring clarity to each end of your being. Me. To the whole tree. I am. Its branches, its leaves, its rings, its roots are the graphic image of the unconscious that unites all parts of a being through time and space, the labyrinth of the inner world. Me, that will vibrate in me forever. I am, and therefore only by honoring him will you be free from him. The labyrinth of your internal world is the wealth that gives you experiences to your life, to the path of your existence in this universe. Plant a tree and you will get food. Plant a tree and you will have oxygen. Plant a tree and you will have shade. Plant a tree and you will refresh the world. Plant a tree and you will keep the heat during the night. Plant a tree and you will reap medicine. Plant a tree and you will get firewood to warm your cold nights, as well as give you light to see in the shadows. Plant a tree and you will give a home to the animals. Plant a tree and you will get wood to build your home. Plant a tree and you can get the paper to write your stories from it. Plant a tree and you will be able to recognize in it all the history that is kept in your subconscious. And when the sunlight burns your crown, you will recognize that going through the maze has been worth it when you sit down to rest in the shade, leaning on its trunk. Me, the shadow of my unconscious, is like the shadow of the tree of history that shelters me. I am, who gives you everything you need to live. Therefore, the tree of life lives in you. Me, I am the tree of life. I am. Plant thousands of trees, and you will get the forest of consciousness. Me, and so, all united, we can write our history.